as the father of the brothers Enki and Enlil, right? Now Anu put the responsibility in the hands of Enki and Enlil in the Sumerian epics. He put the earth in their hands to harvest the gold. Now, the order that they came, Enki came first, but it was one who came as a scout called Eliu. Eliu was the first in the doctrine to come here after he lost his king seat to Anu. In the battle with the gods, when you go hand-to-hand combat, you challenge for the throne. So he lost to Anu. Anu became king, and in exile, he first came to earth. And so this is in the story. So Eliu came as, excuse me, a being of light. All these are not actual physical flesh and blood beings. The ancestors wrote it in a way where when you understand what each of the energies mean, see, they talking about energies and they're using these names and these expressions in order to explain it to the subconscious mind, where certain ones of us, we gonna recognize it, acknowledge it subconsciously, and begin to do the work in order to balance humanity with the balance in nature. Now, so after Eliu came, he reported the gold stash on earth was good and bountiful. So in Genesis, it say, and God said, and the gold was good. Well, what the fuck he talking about? Why do God need gold? But we're gonna go on. So Eliu reported to Anu about the gold, and they made a deal that they would harvest the gold in order to repair the atmosphere of Nibiru. Now, let's talk about Nibiru. Nibiru is what you call a brown dwarf star. It's a red giant, right? But it's a star planet with an interior that certain light beings dwell in the interior of Nibiru. What we don't know, so before I go on, y'all that's taking notes right here, somebody put in the comments, Dr. Delbert Blair, YouTube is your reference to understand that we live in a binary star system. That means there's two stars that's part of our solar system. Nibiru is our second star with a different orbit than our so-called sun, our solar disk. So let me pause for a second. I'm gonna let y'all catch up and digest a little bit of that, do a couple more invites, and then we're gonna get to pushing on this. Okay, I'm gonna go a couple more. All right, Dr. Delbert Blair, right, Phoenix, you got it. Amar, look at Phoenix, she put it in there, Dr. Delbert Blair on YouTube. Now, he is a metaphysician. And what we don't understand about metaphysics and quantum mechanics cause us not to be able to utilize the resources of our ancestral memory. So I got a link to Dr. Delbert Blair on a meta link. The meta link is the ancestor says a certain word, and that certain word allow me to calibrate to his energy field. When I calibrate to his energy field, he can either grant or deny me access of the Akashic record recording of his personal memory and research. From there, it allowed me to tap into some of the people that he researched if the correct word is there, and these words are called keys. And that's why I just flipped from 33 to 36 on the 369 turnaround on my viewership to one eye. Now, so Nibiru is the binary star of our solar system, and it has a 3600 year orbit, according to the record, which means that it periodically comes around. Now, in your Christian Bible, they got several words for it that you don't know what they mean, and they don't make sense in the context in the book, so it makes you look at it. One is wormwood. Wormwood be found in Revelations. Another one is the great dragon, because Nibiru look like, when it comes through and you can see it naked, it look like it has a tail that spring out from wings, a phoenix effect in its appearance. Now, wars took place between the warring clans from Enlil's children and Enki's children. Enki came after Eliud as the first, but he had to make an arrangement with Mother Earth in order to even be here. So Mother Earth allowed Enki to come because he seduced her. Now, look at it as the first lady. Her husband went off to fight with the soldiers in war, and while he was gone, the Russian president seduced her and took over the country. That's the equivalent where you can understand by analysis what this would look like in real time today, right? So Enki seduced the queen of the earth at the time. Now, these are physical earth energies we talking about, not actual people. The names are used to express the type of energy that's fluxing as things are being created. Now, Enki, being a son of Anu and a high-ranking general, but he was more interested in cultivating foliage and pursuing spiritual development of the beings that he found on the inhabited earth, which were all feminine gender. There were no true masculine gender because women gave birth by parthenogenesis at that time. This is also recorded in the earth record that we know from the genetics research that the Y chromosome of the male gender is not even a couple of 100,000 Earth years long on the genome recording, according to how the mutation of the gene takes. When you look at the Y chromosome under the microscope, you will realize that the Y chromosome is actually a mutated X with an atrophied appendage. And that means that something happened that caused one of the X chromosomes to deform, which produces a reversing of the developmental dispersion of chemistry in the body. So the body's chemical of the mother, where it determines the gender of the child, can override what the genome says and change that. And that's called an X-Man. But that's another story. I don't know if I'm going to get into that right now. So the mitochondria, being that it is in the soil of the earth, and earth is a feminine planet, becomes the chemical matrix of hierarchy of the planet. In order to be in a rulership seat, you have to have a certain psychochemical makeup, meaning that your mind and your body chemistry have to be made up in a certain way, and this can only be done through a concentration of energy in a very specific manner on the womb of a developing child. Now, when we go back to Nation of Islam, we speak of the mother plane, which is in no ways in comparison in size to the planet Nibiru. But the mother plane is actually a code. I'm not going to go into that, but the mother plane is a code that tells you that this earth is a plane that belongs to the mother, and the rebuilding of the mother plane, or the building of the mother plane, in the far gathering the parts from all parts of the world without nobody knowing, all it is reassembling mama's psyche. Okay, this goes into the descent of Ishtar into the underworld, the shattered psyche, the mirror broken on the crossroads to shatter the mind of the queen of heaven and earth, so that her sister Rishkagal can keep her imprisoned in the underworld indefinitely. That was the story. But the problem is Ishtar had a son named Ninigashita. You know him through your Egyptian studies at Thoth. Now, he don't get into none of the bullshit. He don't want no parts of it, but if his mama called him, he's coming. Heaven or hell, and he done been to both places. So Ereshkigal, right, is the one who tricked Inanna into a false sisterhood so she could poison her mind, right? Now, when you read the story, it tell you Ereshkigal cast a spell up on Inanna. Now, Inanna was known as the sweet water of the Anunnaki doctrine. So she would be the sweet water return in your African Orisha story. So the person would be the same. So keep that in mind. I don't know if I'm going to get back into that because I'm trying to stay with the Sumerian story because it's kind of going to parallel with what I'm about to tell y'all. All right, so now, while she in the underworld, her father, Anu, asked for his baby. And somebody told him that she was held captive by Ereshkigal in the underworld. Now, this is your Lucifer fallen story, because the rebellious woman is supposed to be Ishtar, Mary, because they slandered her name to try to convince the world that she was the evil one. This is Isis in your Egyptian story, and this is Venus in your Occidental stories. This is Venus. This is the Lady of Love, the love bringer to Earth. Why do they call her that? Because she is a controller of mitochondria. The mitochondria is the chemical of love that infuses the heart, that opens the heart chakra. Now, they knew once her son, Ninigashita, who they called Nimrod in Babylon. These stories are parallel, so I had to make certain mentions in certain places. So when you know that Nimrod was the only one the guys feared in Babylon, this is Ninigashita, who's called Thoth in Egypt. Now, as long as you don't fuck with his mama and his sisters, he's not an issue. He let men fight like men on the battlefield, and he don't get into that shit, right? But over here, what we call the Americas, right? The Amur Incas. This was Ninigashita's territory, called the underworld. But it was actually called the other world because nobody was allowed to bring war and bloodshed to these shores while he was present. Now, when Ishtar when Ereshkigal traps Ishtar in the underworld, she casts a spell to shatter her mind. Right? Now, in the Americas, the equivalent was the lady they call Queen Mother Moore, who is known in the Louisiana territory as Madame Laveau, feeling that she should be entitled to the queency of the land of Ninigajita because she felt that his consort was a lesser being, never knowing that over here we never played that shit. Big I's and little U's. So the rejection or the rebuff of the American queen seat, when she got rejected, she went into a jealous rage, shattered a mirror at the crossroads in order to do to the Queen of the Americas, your California, look it up, and shatter her mind so that the children of the Americas can remain under the domination of an invading and advancing colonial party. The only problem that they didn't encounter is she can always call her son from any part of the known or unknown universe through the agency of the mitochondria. This becomes an unconquerable problem when it comes to women's prayers being answered through the womb. It might take a generation and it might take 4. But when the treachery is discovered, the plan is then laid to recover. The women are in a timeless matriarchal mind link. The sisters of the Earthrights, they don't come from one ethnicity because that shit didn't exist until the Moors brought it. Now, I brought the Moors up. The Moors are relatives through one of the brothers, Enki and Lil. They are through the line of Enlil. But they got a different mother from a different star system. These beings, what we would call Saurians, look like us. But they got a different heart context, a heart content. They believe in separating people through rank and hierarchies through an agenda. We believe that everybody can rise to their own level of greatness according to their own will and effort if given the opportunity. Got that right. They don't want to see me beating on my chest. They don't fuck with my sisters. So now, while Isis is in the, or Inanna is in the underworld, Ishtar, then she calls her son through a form of meditation where a mother always connects to her child. And this is how mothers be like, something ain't right with my baby, call him. Where is he at? Boom, mother instinct. It's the innate link. It's part of nature in the hardwiring of nature. This is why you don't have, your mother knows shit. But this is the instinct of survival that's hardwired into the human creature. When the female turns that off, she changes at a heart level, blocks her heart chakra when she severs to the link with her child through selfishness and greed. Meaning, if a female using her child as child support and to sustain her life until they 18, then she's going to generate a negative energetic connection to the child, and they're going to resent her in one way and be strongly attracted to her in another way. The strong attracted to the blocked chakra of the heart allows him to be susceptible to what we call a rotten ass bitch. because she's operating from selfish gain. She cares about nobody but herself. Hey, Cynthia. So, when the vibration of the heart chakra is turned on, it has to be turned on in a man by a connecting agency of a woman with the same level of intensity in his connection to his mother, and then they switch. It's like passing the baton in the relay race. When you pick the right chick, your mama subconsciously gives her consent. They communicating through telepathy and through knocks, mother to mother shit that only mothers know about, that we think don't exist because we are naive because a white man told us don't think that shit. Now, the white man. You've been looking at black and white in the terms of skin color. Nobody knows why when you look it up in the law, it means something different than when you look it up in civilian text. This is a chess game between invaders and the invaded. In chess, the invader or the attacker pushes from white and the defenders pushes from black. So they got us believing when they talk about black and white that they're talking about the skin of the people. But when you look up white, it tell you that they Moors. But when you look up black, it tell you they something else. What we call white people, pale people. That's a contradiction. So now we have to determine why is it in law one way, but black is a absence of all color in open English, but in legalese, it means a chess term for black. A particular person on the chessboard that's on the defensive. So then you understand that it ain't about the skin color. That's because the divide and conquer and the illusion played on the mind make you think it's the skin color. It's the position on the chessboard. It's the defenders versus the attacker, the colonizer versus the colonized. Now, when the knockaround game go into play, this is the Egyptian way of sending the pharaoh through a rites of passage in order to determine his worth and worthiness to reign as pharaoh. That's what they call a Masonic knot. Now, in the story, once Ninigajita find out where his mama is, all out war ensues on a rescue mission. Now, this story continues in China, and it's called Journey to the West. It's the story of Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, and him whooping all of the gods. That's the story of the wars that Nimrod had that made him fear the gods. So when Sun Wukong, they tricked him and captured him, killed him, sent him to hell. That's where his mama was at. But when he got there, he erased all his soldiers out of the book of life and death, giving them eternal life. Sound familiar? While he was down there, this is a metaphor. Scratching those names out, every time he scratched the name out of the book of death, he freed an aspect of his mother's mind. So the story of Sun Wukong, also known as General Li, is the story of Nimrod, who is in the Sumerian text Ninigajita. So the story goes on to say after this takes place, there's another thing happening. While she's there, there is a serpent goddess sliding up under Enki. She cast a spell to shatter the mind of Enki, right? So now Enki is in the physical world delusional to who he is. The only people that can help him put together the fragments of his mind is the Queen of Heaven and Earth, who is currently held captive by her sister, because her sister felt that she was jealous. She was a miserable, jealous bitch. So she held her down there. This is what the stories say. Now, from there, now his father, which is actually his adopted father, pay attention, because this is the story of Loki in Norse mythology being adopted. He is the son of the Ice Queen. Who is the Ice Queen? That's Isis, the queen of the North. North in Egypt is called the underworld. So we putting this all together. Now that he's trying to get the throne, they didn't put Thor, right? Which is a Roth, means shield. The Roth shields, the blood shields, right? So they put the Roths, or the shield, the cover story, in play to keep Loki from ever attaining the seat, the Ice Throne. Because they know if he ever attained the Ice Throne, he is authorized then by position of the Galactic Council seat of 50, which is known as the God seat of heaven and earth in the earth realm. Meaning that anybody sit on that seat got final say in the final judgment of what takes place in the realm of heaven and earth as we know it. So this 50th seat is also known as the Great Queen's seat, the Queen of Heaven and Earth, the seat of Isis, the Black Madonna. So now Isis is in the underworld. Now, what happened when the Sweetwater went away? The babies got raped. The women got trafficked. The ground started to crack. Things began to shrivel up and die. Right? Death began to ensue because you cannot grow shit with bitter salt water. It's just not going to happen. Bitter salt water is a comparative analogy to the sweet water. But the water is a synonym for emotions. Emotions is a mirror of a spirit. The energy that's moving in the spirit reflects through the emotions. When you understand how to control the emotions, you then solidify spirit and mind in order to move up the ascension ladder. Jacob's ladder. The 33 vertebrae. The 33 years of Jesus. So it's all symbol and tied together. So now the wars get more intense because Enki's children is trying to overthrow Enlil's children for attacking Enki and for what's taking place with Isis in the underworld, her being predisposed by Rishkagil. This allows them to run rampant without her being able to say shit. Right? Now, while this all takes place, the wars, what they call the Vimanas Wars in India, that's the great nuclear wars of a past era of the earth that's recorded in the Mahabharata and the story in the Bhagavad Gita. All this shit related. It's all tied together. It's a unified field theory effect, so I can't totally stay with the one story without making the other references. Now, when you understand that aspect of it, and that all of these stories is connected, then you begin to put the history of the world back together. But the first one to do it has to have sight beyond sight. Got to be able to mentally see from what they call the galactic 13th seat, which is the zodiac center, which they call the Ta-Earth seat, the seat of total chaos being made orderly through the lens. The lens flips it correct. So if you can't hold the balance, you can't hold the seat. So the only way you can hold the universal balance is you first have to hold self-balanced. As above, so below. As within, so without. It's an old maxim. So then you wonder, what is this elixir of life, this sacred secretion? This is the gold fluid that travels the spine as you begin to awaken. It's called the Kundalini. It's when your right hemisphere, feminine, creative, abstract, and your left hemisphere, linear, logic, masculine, begin to work together as a married couple. From the king's chamber to the queen's chamber, they send a pituitary pineal arcing effect, which causes a reversing of the lens from external to internal perspective. You find the anomaly in the self, it shows you the anomaly in the world. You correct the anomaly in yourself, you find the balance with the anomaly in the world. It's just that simple. But it takes a lot of effort. Now, most people don't do it because it's hard work. But guess what? If you don't do it and you don't take control of doing it, it's twice as hard. Because life gonna beat the fuck out you until you do what you're supposed to do. Because we all wrote this contract called Book of Life when we came. And the goal was that you gotta be righteous enough to not let the evil shit take control of your life. But you also can't be so goddamn righteous that you be a permanent victim and pussy to the dark shit. So you gotta be in the gray. You can't be all the way on the black and you can't be all the way on the white. You got to bump straight center. And so this allows you to see what the Islamic Muslims call Sirat al-Mustaqim, the straight and narrow way. That shit hard work, because it causes you to have to do enough introspection that you can't be deceived externally. Right? So when you can't be deceived internally by yourself, can't nobody else deceive you, because you won't accept the deception. Now, all of that is the basic rundown or overview of the story. The wars finally caused what we call an intergalactic crisis effect. Now, when you go to a book, somebody put this reference book in the comments, Inanna Returns. Inanna Returns. You can find the book on Amazon. So somebody put that in there as a reference. You got it, Phoenix? Yeah, ain't no taking sides. Because soon as you take sides, you all fucked up. You got to be in the gray. You got to bump straight. That means that if a motherfucker got to get chopped in the throat, they fucking got to get chopped in the throat. But if it's not necessary to chop them in the throat, it's necessary that you don't chop them in the throat. It's that simple. You don't give nobody more than they can take of your bullshit, because then you force people into a corner where they have to respond. So if you ain't on bullshit, they're like, hey, that motherfucker be on some straight shit every time I see him. That's called cultivating an air of respect. And they don't have no sense of respect in this world no more, which is cool by me. You know, everybody got their life and their way of life. But I'm about to light me a little buds and roses right here. I like that shit. Anyway, so now, at the end, the game is the knockaround game. It encompasses all of the rules of every game you ever played in your life. Some games you probably never played them, but you know the rules to them from watching others play them. You still got the key. The African left Proverbs to give us direction in times of crisis. One of the things they always said was the same thing that they used to hold you down, you use as a ladder to climb up. Now, that got me thinking what they using to hold us back. So, that gave me something to work with. There's another African proverb. It said, 9 out of 10, the simplest answer is the correct answer. I said, Another than African proverb say, there is a time for sowing and a time for reaping. Which goes to a biblical proverb. It's the time to live, it's the time to die. It's a time for everything under the sun. So that got me thinking. So then, as a reject, outcast, piece of shit ass nigga that don't nobody want to fuck with, fuck it, I fuck with me. I fucks with me. And so I don't care if don't nobody fuck with me. I fuck with me. Now, being that I'm content to just fuck with me, shit, what do I do when I spend my time fucking with myself? Well, up until I was sent on a mission, I exercised my mind and I studied the problem in search of solutions. I found that in left-hand path, Crowleyster type literature, Anton LaVey, and right-hand path, religious literature, like Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And then you have a middle path, what we would call spiritualist path. So that's like Blavatsky and Steiner. And then you have a historical path. Now, the historical path branches off because when you're studying the problem, you got to see it from a first historical perspective as looking at American history, world history, black history, revisionist history, legal history, medical history, military history. And then you gotta weave all that shit together, sift it out, and find out where the bullshit at. It's always a tale to the lie. The lie always tells on itself. But there's always the truth sprinkled in that lie in order to make it believable. So the same story has to be repeated in the end in order for the system to change. Which story? The Alpha to Omega story. The story that started it has to be a reflection of the story that ends it. So the same way it started, it got to end with a different outcome. Soon as the outcome changes, then the future changes. So we use what happened in the beginning. So if I follow my book of life and match it up with the Anunnaki story, then I understand how my mama, when she clicked with Big Mama and Reverend Ross in New Orleans in her initiation rites, and how she had the knowledge to call me forth through her mitochondrial as the seventh one, because there's a number, that is a thing that happened. Okay, first, my grandfather is the seventh seed, right? Now, he was a medicine man in Mississippi, and he was a southwestern Mississippi landholder for a sizable portion of the state, more than my family cared to even know at this particular point in time, because so much is built on it now, and then they have a defeatist attitude because the system appears legitimate, therefore it must be legitimate. But everything that look like is correct is not always correct. Remember, they can't lock you in without giving you an exit out. The fact that all laws commercial tell you that it has nothing to do with justice, balance, or harmony with nature. Because all laws commercial, it has something to do with commercial transactions on the international stock exchange. What the fuck that got to do with law? It's called the Code of Thieves. You know it as the Uniform Commercial Code, codified in modern English. Now, it's an old code that came out of the monasteries in India as part of their caste system arrangement. This is what Alexander the Great went into the Indus Valley to get. He really wasn't that great. He really was a little piece of pussy, bitch ass dude, because when he was faced with the Candace queens of Ethiopia, he ain't want no parts of the energy exertion, because it makes the men fight on a level that they not ready for. The men become so self-aware of their indestructibility in truth that they don't care what you do to this body, you're not fucking with the queen. Period. Yep. So he was inserted. Now, everybody wanted to know, where did the history switch from matriarchy to patriarchy take place? It switched in Greece. See, Helen, right, was the queen, or she was actually the princess waiting to become the queen. But she was known as one of the Greek goddesses. Now, as soon as they were conquered by Rome, Rome didn't change anything but Helen's gender. Now, I want y'all to look at that. In Rome, Helen is a man. Now, this is your Medusa got her head cut off metaphor. She was replaced. That's the replacement. The other stories like cut off your nose to spite your face. You know, these are people that's turning in on themselves and not admitting they wrongdoing, trying to blame it on other people. It's the reverse of the Pinocchio story. Same shit. He lied outright, they lie inwardly to make themselves be more than somebody else. So they cut off their nose to spite their face. When they refuse to accept or acknowledge what they know to be true, then there's a consequence. So you see the drama, right? Remember, the Syrian resurrection story called the Holy Drama. So when you see the drama play out in Hollywood, all of the movies of Hollywood, the good ones and the bad ones, is tied to the same myths and legends stories. They just told them in an updated manner so that the same story can be drawn from the subconscious mind and applied in reality as a stepping stone of erudition. I mean, you're learning to read nature. They teaching you through the instrumentation of movies and songs and different things. In the hip-hop world, hip-hop is Native American ancestor call. That's all it is. The goal of hip-hop was to produce Eminem. I'm going to tell y'all this again. The goal of hip-hop, from when it was a form of jazz called hip-hop, jazz, back in the 20s, right alongside of swing, jazz, hard bop, and bebop, was to produce Eminem. That was the goal of hip-hop. Produce Eminem. What the fuck do you mean, produce Eminem? Because when we knocking around and we making the call to the ancestors using our underground language, we need to metaphysically affect those who came as servants to the Moors. We need to metaphysically affect them in a manner that they can expose by mirror where to look, whether they are aware or unaware. Using the laws of nature, you triangulate. That means that you look for certain things in certain places. Now, I tell people Tupac was my Legba, and if Legba find me, it's over, but he didn't find me. The verification is, you can check this out. The Flint Dayton family. The Flint Dayton family, MC Breed, R.I.P. Breed, ain't no future in your motherfucking front. MC Breed, right? Tupac slept on his couch as he searched the 313 to the 248 to the 810, looking for his brother. All he need to find is his big brother and give him a couple of knocks in the right direction, and he wake up instantly and it's over. But he didn't find him. So now we have to go through what they call in the Masonic Lodge the building of a Hiram. Now Hiram is a man that builds himself from himself. He tears himself down repeatedly until he get to his what we call perfected man state. Hiram is raised. But here's the problem. A man can open up from his root chakra, and his next two chakras, 2 and 3. He can't open his heart chakra or his throat chakra, but he can open his third eye and his crown. He's not balanced. So the furthest you can go on your own, you need a feminine energy mirror, polar opposite, to reflect the same energy vibration off of them onto you that you project onto them. This is balancing of the genders. Because if you can create the balance in the man and the woman externally, it allows you to understand, and now your brain has to sync because you're trying to understand her. Her brain has to sync because she's trying to understand him. The white or the clear cerebral spinal fluid is the result of only one half of your brain pumping. You have a masculine and a feminine side of the brain. They should operate in unison like your heart muscles, but they don't. Those are intellectual is left brain dominant, meaning their left brain is the one pumping and their right brain is being drug along. Those who are creative are what you call right brain dominant, and they are the ones that show artists. Now, when you find the balance, you begin to see something different, because the clear liquid, it's coming out your nose, your ears, because on the way is what we call the sacred secretion or the sacred secorium. From the pump in your pelvic bone, right under your lower lumbar, above your coccyx tailbone, in that bone, there's a group of bone tissue that's like a sponge, but it operates like a pump. And it pushes the fluid from glands that amalgamate in the general area, and it pushes them up. Now, when it can't push them up, it gets exhausted and it causes lower lumbar backaches. Without a visual cause, you can't find the cause, and it causes sciatic nerve pain. There's a blockage. The blockage is because there's also another pump right here at your medulla oblongata. It's part of your balancing act. And that only pumps at half strength until the brain is synced. Once the brain is synced, this pump sucks from the lower spine while the one at the lower spine pumps up. This is the movement of what you call your sacred secretion to bring you to Christ consciousness. It's a little bit more complex than it sounds. But it's real simple in methodology when you understand the science. You can then help people understand how to use it. So over here, we play the same drama out that's played out in the Sumerian record at the end. So to resolve the matter, finally, Isis and Ishtar come to a challenge, and Ishtar is allowed, not Ishtar, Ereshkigal is allowed an opportunity to seduce her son and to get him to remain in the underworld with her. But in actuality, it's upside down and turned around, where she's trying to get him to go to Nibiru with her and abandon the children of the earth and his returning his mother and restoring his mother to her prominence. Now, the story plays out in my book of life as the story of Hiram being raised. What does it mean? How does this tie into everything? So I have to what you call dance with the devil by the pale moonlight. The reason why the cycles kept repeating, because every time Enki, which is a symbol for, say, my father, get ready to create certain events, he get rank pulled by one of the older sisters that's not there for anybody benefit but her own, and she don't want to see, she feels she should be entitled to the throne because she is of the old order, not the way that the structure is. See, Enki being Anunnaki have to abide by Anunnaki ranking systems. So had Enki been the one at the final judgment, instead of Nini-Gashita being the one at the final judgment, rank get pulled and Earth goes back through the cycles of oppression once again, because it then replaces the rulership of the throne to what we would call in slang street terms a rogue bitch who has no regard for her own seed or self, therefore can have no regard for nobody else. She will destroy the matriarchy. Because she destroyed it in the beginning, it's the same story, it's just upside down, turned around. Now, the error comes in presuming that Nini-Gashita is Enki. He ain't the same motherfucker. They two different people. Now, during the time that Nini-Gashita will have to be held back, the interim government steps in. This is your Marduk. Marduk is Nini-Gashita's cousin, but everybody believe him to be his brother or his twin. Now, he don't give a fuck about none of this shit. He don't want no parts of it. So he became what you call the Amun, the unknown. And the only way that he can remain unknown is he had to live his life like mortals. But not only that, he had to also help all of the other masters seek out, locate, and identify Ninigajita so that they can shake him and wake him up and he can reclaim the throne, because as the Galactic Council ruled, the DNA would be upgraded in the mortals of the Earth. The Anunnakis felt like them as they pets. That's in the Inanna Returns, you'll see it. And that because they was they pets, they should not have equality. But Ninigajita, being firstborn of the Earthborn, felt like, all you motherfuckers scared of me. I'm the baddest motherfucker ever born. My self-esteem ain't low. I just keep telling you motherfuckers is all you gotta do is don't participate in they bullshit, and then they can't get nothing out of the earth. But the people ignored it, so Ninigajita was like, fuck them. If it don't get bad enough for the motherfucker that they believe oppressing them to call, then it ain't bad enough for me to even get involved in this shit. This played out in the hip-hop drama of all Grandmaster Melly Mel, Grandmaster Cool Herc, Grandmaster D, Grandmaster C, Grandmaster Cool this and that and the other thing too. All these Grandmasters inventing hip-hop. It's telling the same drama. It's spinning off of people like the Last Poets and Gil Scott-Heron, who told the grievances, the news report from the underground. Because the Weather Underground was a group put together to expose the injustices of the people that you say is the oppressor. A bunch of Caucasian kids screaming for justice unilaterally across the board for everybody, and to get rid of this racist shit, this hate shit, and this political shit. They want anarchy. So you produce something called a helter-skelter effect off of a Charles Manson rejecting the all-out race war. The helter-skelter effect then affects the skinhead who flipped the swastika. This is same as you shooting a flare in the sky. So when the white supremacists flipped the swastika, so if you go back and look, it's in reverse. They telling this is a distress call from what we call Caucasian white supremacists to a higher authority to come in and intervene with this hate shit. Right? So it's the same thing. They being told, run it this way consciously, but subconsciously they sending out a distress signal with the reverse and the swastika. Now this is an Adolf Hitler flip. We talking about a third Reich, right? Meaning a third right. What rights are there? There are no rights on this earth that's not part of the earth rights, which means the ladies first. So this is the third attempt of Adolf Hitler to put the women in power. But he said don't worry about it, because if it don't work, y'all gonna find out in the end you was fighting the same motherfuckers I've been fighting and didn't even know it. And you thought I was the enemy. That's Adolf Hitler. Look him up. So who was he talking to? He was telling his soldiers about America's jewels, Jews, and that those other people, Moors, are not Amaru. They are imposters. It played out over there just like it played out over here. In your face, behind your back. So the Third Reich took over America in your face without you never knowing, with the military industrial complex, Operation Paperclip, Project NASA, and the Space and Aeronautical Association of America. They took over. All of those were headed under Operation Paperclip by former German scientists. How in the fuck do you win a war with your former enemy running all of your intelligentsia, your thinkers and your creators? It doesn't make sense, people. Doesn't make sense. Now, the immediate following of that was something called the United Nations. France, America, and Britain created some shit called Israel. That shit not even real. That's the West Bank. That's actually Egypt. And Egypt ceded it to some people they called Palestinians a long time ago. And it ain't never been no place for no so-called fucking Jew. You don't even know what a fucking Jew is. He ain't an Ashkenazi. He's not a Sephardi. He's not a Khazar. Well, who the fuck is the Jew? A fucking Moor. A Palestinian Moor. Who came in as an invader. Who undermined Hannibal's conquest of Rome. This is where Hannibal was in war with Rome. Go back and look at the record and you'll find that these same motherfuckers, while Hannibal was at war, cut off his money supply so they could kill off the opposition from inside. So you got to get rid of the internal enemy first. So I got pushed out here to fight some dragons. I ain't got no problem with it. Because there is no way that I would be responsible for giving the keys to the kingdom to some matriarchs and put a rogue bitch in there that's going to upset the balance. What the fuck would I be working for? For somebody to tell me that my book of life don't mean shit? That's the highest depths of ignorance I could ever hear from somebody. Because how do I know if I'm walking to the Mustaqim if I'm not reading it out my book of life? Especially when it tell me, Rod, be on alert. It's a rogue bitch coming your way, incoming, left field. Chop that bitch in the throat when we tell you to. But in the meantime, just hold that motherfucking snake until I tell you to let her go. By the time you let her go, she'll be to learn her lesson. So I did what I had to do. I followed the rites of passage from mortal to immortal off the Egyptian hieroglyphic pattern laid down of how to become the Pharaoh. This is the same thing that you learn in the Melchizedek priesthood, as in how to become a dispenser of justice in an unjust world. And this prevents you from being what we call a revenge seeker. And you don't seek revenge, you just seek balance. But believe me, sometimes balance requires you to chop a motherfucker in the throat. Don't get it twisted. Sometimes it requires you to chop a motherfucker in the throat. So, from there, my mother, my godmother, my prime godmother, Big Mama, Mother Margaret, had a prayer over me as a child, which they basically introduced a series of events according to an ancient African tradition that causes the child to develop in a particular manner in order to call forth the same energy that once existed in the ancestor that can be realized, actualized by a person who understands what we call the conjure, the voodoo. What is the voodoo? They told y'all that there's all this dark shit and run from it and you've been ducking voodoo all this time. The only thing that ever gave anybody look like us liberation from the oppression in Haiti was voodoo. But the problem is y'all didn't finish. That's why they didn't get past the poverty part. Because it was supposed to have been a chain reaction from Haiti to Jamaica all into the mainlands. It wasn't until Marcus Garvey came to the mainland that we understood that the conjure had not been properly initiated among the people who was suffering the most in order to get the relief. And this is why in the whirlwind speech, he tell you that the plan was laid, it was successful, the ancestors will prevail, and we will be successful, because he brought something called the Gorilla Key. The Gorilla Key is what you call the Enki Key. The Enki Key is the key to all of the tribal magic of the world. In the universal mind, it worked like compartments in a file cabinet. When you get the Gorilla Key, then all of the other tribal conjures then become accessible as a file in a file cabinet for you to pull out and use. It's an app. I can use all world conjure to balance the scales between man and nature, and it's gonna cause some people pain psychologically and emotionally, but it's gonna make them more balanced in the end, because the pain of psychological and emotional distress is to compel you to spiritually grow in a very specific direction according to your character traits in your family lineage and your personal internal grit. It'll make you, it's just like a stake in a plant to grow in a very specific way. And so when y'all understand that, when I give you instructions, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you, if you want it to work, this is the combination to the lock. You can use it, but you don't have to. Every one of us got a certain amount of shit on the inside of us, and we can all rise to our own level. Some of us work harder to rise to a higher level, and then when the real leader gone, anybody can fill that position as long as he look like he that part. But when the real leader come, them motherfuckers gotta take the back seat, because they all understand, and it's the greatest good for the most people. Because if you ain't for the greatest good of the most people, without respect to a person, then you don't deserve to be in the leadership position. That's why we in this shit we in right now. Because people that felt entitled came to this land, Moors, and they gave the chiefs queens that felt like they should be the queens of this land, when they don't vibrate on the frequency of the queens of this land. Not no foreigners. The ones that's organic to this land vibrate a frequency that's compatible with the heart of this land, the heartland. Middle America. What's the middle? The straight fucking bump. The only thing that's gonna bump straight is the motherfucker whose shit this is. No rogue bitch can ever replace a righteous queen. That's not possible in the hearts of a righteous man. So if you strive for righteousness and a rogue bitch come along to try to undermine a righteous queen, she's never going to get that spot, no matter what she put up for collateral. No matter what she put up for collateral. Because a righteous king gonna protect the queen, whether they is talking or not. Whether they sitting next to each other on opposite sides of the world. No rogue bitch gonna replace that. That's not possible. It doesn't even make sense to attempt it. The problem coming in is you feel like you entitled because you from a different lineage and you feel like your lineage older. It might be older, but it don't belong here. It's out of order. That's why motherfuckers talking about they not gonna be here. Bitch, you not taking me with you. I'm earthborn. Child of the stars. I'm firstborn of the earthborn. I'm the one, when can't nobody else fix it, even your Nuna gods, Enki and Enlil, got the call on. For one reason only. I don't give two shits. If it's my job, I'm gonna do it until it's done. And then when the bell ring, I'm clocking the fuck out, and then that job don't fucking exist no more because I ain't there. Right now, I'm doing the job. The job about over. Now, the challenge of Job in the book of Job from God to the devil was a trap for the devil, not Job. Job was the vessel that God felt was strong enough to trap the devil just by being righteous. That's it. This is why I tell you the righteous is going to suffer for righteousness' sake. That means that just because you righteous, that's the only reason why you going to suffer, because they trying to dim your light. They trying to snuff that shit out. The gig is up. Trick no good. Check fucking mate. Sex Pistols, goddammit, in the air. 2121 gun salutes. Flip the motherfucking boots. It won't happen on my watch. Because when you don't make me feel good in my motherfucking heart, and you make me want to bust you upside your fucking head, you don't need to be in my energy, because I don't believe in hitting women, but I'll stomp a bitch. I'll stomp a bitch, but I will not put my hands on a woman. Period. Because those motherfuckers make real good women look bad to men. And it make men act like bitch ass niggas because he don't trust no woman. Gotta trust somebody. Somebody gonna come along with the same heart vibrational frequency as your mama. And this is why they said that in the Oedipus story, he married his mama. He ain't married his mama. He married the same vibrational frequency of heart as his mama. The love of his life. Can't nobody... The mother is the meaning of God in the minds of children. They can't comprehend it no other way for it to make sense to them. When you describe God to them, and a little kid 2 years old, he thinking about, they talking about mama. They talking about daddy. This is how children see divinity. We get to be adults. We disincarnate that shit because the system told us that they outside of our realm of perception. And you think the only thing you can perceive is physical matter. But your perception is way beyond physical matter. Your perception is how well you develop your self-understanding. A apex athlete know his body well enough to know if something is going faulty on the internal, he already about have a good idea what it is. Because he's balanced and he feel what's going on in his energy, because he has to develop to a certain level of development mentally, emotionally, and spiritually in order for his body to function in what they call a zone state. So that's when you get in that Michael Jordan 92 point, 82 points, or whatever the fuck it is, that Kobe Bryant 80-point games and shit like that. The motherfucking games where you just can't fucking miss. You can't miss. And the more you develop all balancing out spiritual, mental, emotional with your physical development, the higher in whatever application you apply yourself, you can attain. But don't believe you're going to get there without no opposition. You got to have a competitor. Because you have to prove to yourself your stock value and your worth. Yep. The hearts of your people vibrate on the same frequency as yours. Pay attention, people. I know I'm from over here, this is my land. I know that. My heart vibrational frequency matches with the ground's resonance. Right? So I know anybody that belong on this land, my heart gonna harmonize with them, male or female. And we got this special, unconditional affection that develops between us because we belong here. Now, when somebody's heart does not vibrate on the frequency of this land, all of the chiefs know this person doesn't belong here. That's part of our training through the spirit realm of our ancestors in becoming a chief. You have to be able to know who vibrate on your tribal frequency in order to know. I have to know that Notorious B.I.G. is Sitting Bull without him ever telling me his name. I got to know that Tupac is Tupac Amaru, who is actually Egyptian boy king Tut. I have to know this without them telling me. I have to see Tupac at the All Eyes on Me premiere in your face without you knowing I'm looking at him. And he there with Shock G, giving you signs that you don't see. Because he said in the song, right before your very eyes, you won't even realize you won't see me. That ain't the only one I seen him in. He did a couple videos where you swear down that you're looking at an entirely different people by the effects of Hollywood makeup, and you stupid motherfuckers keep falling for it. Well, he told y'all to believe in God, believe in Death Row East. This shit was checkmate or chess, he said. We'd have been saying checkmate 3 years ago. That was 22 years ago. That's a whole quarter roll off a 22 flip off Haitian Jack. Listen while I take you back and lace the track. A real live tale about a snitch named Haitian Jack. Haitian Jack don't have no paperwork to say he a snitch. But what he do have is a recording of him talking about giving Pac the 22-year code to crack the next ancestor rope and draw him on deck. That's why he say, I ain't the one, but I guarantee you. That's a strong fucking terminology. I guarantee I sparked the brain. Only way you can do that, you got to be a master. And you got to know how to call another master and rank. Next level, you have to do your due diligence. That's why he said, I gotta say this for the record. I want people to know I did everything righteous by the rules of war. Who the fuck he talking to? Who the fuck? He ain't talking to you, is he? He's talking to me. I take that shit personal because the boy put himself out there to break this code in the cycle, but I gotta know who the fuck he is. Right, Pusha T? No. I have to know who Nas is, QB's finest. I gotta know who Jigga is, J-Hove. I gotta know who these people is, King James. Because if I don't know, I can't be able to read the writing on the wall that tell me, like I'm telling you now, this my shit. Get my shit to the house. And all games aside, King is spoken. This shit the rap. Tell Trump and them to shut that shit fucking down, kill the dog and pony show, round this shit up, drain the, let the swamp be exposed, whatever the fuck y'all gonna do. It's done. Cause ain't no rogue bitch replacing nothing here. Trick no good. Checkmate, motherfuckers. The whole thing's mine now. That's a 50 galactic seat motherfucking confession right there. You can call it the rantings of a madman if you want to, but I'm not bullshitting. Just that old knockaround thing. I'm just screaming the motherfucking final motherfucking decree of the king. It's over. Done. Tell them motherfuckers get this shit wrapped up. We done COVID-19 enough of this bullshit. Election ain't about to happen, none of that shit. It's over. It's a new sheriff in town. It's a new motherfucking king on deck. Thutmose the 10th rise, the brand new pharaoh. You motherfuckers is over here on my shit eating babies. This shit a wrap. You know it's a wrap. It's done. Rap City. Now I'm gonna lay back in the cut and I'm gonna take a break. But remember, I'm telling you, this shit over with. It ain't nothing left to do. You can let all my motherfucking soldiers out them motherfucking cages. It's a wrap. It's just, the book is done. Exhausted. The end. Closed. No more. We're going to a new day now. That's a big E flip on a big ending. On a Universal Championship at that. Out the fucking blue. A Blue Lives flip. You dig? On a Red Lodge match. Off of Bobby Lashley World Champion flip. You dig? I'm gonna put my motherfucking fairy Alexa Bliss on top. Little sister Abigail. That's right. So the Sumerian story gave me the presence of understanding of how it worked to Enki, Enlil, Nenagashita, and Marduk, and all reclaiming the powers and understanding how the Code of Kings and the Code of Thieves work. And putting all this shit together in order to be able to exercise all these demons and balance the scales. So I didn't balance everything out. There's nothing left to balance. The only thing left to balance is my way back to my motherfucking house. It's a motherfucking Journey Home project off of Marcus Flip. Blue lives reflect red lives reflect blue. Fucking blue lights, read them their lights. Colors. Dig? So that whole you could take any other ancient stories and lay them out, and you find yourself in those stories by being affectionately drawing the key characters, and then it tells you how to arrange them from seeing other people in your life that match these people in the story. Goddamn right, Pat Holy. They can run this shit. They can put an end to these goddamn comic book ass news reporting stories off this motherfucking Maltese Falcon flip. So the synonym would be my father would accept something. Don't mean I'm gonna accept it. On my land, I'm not accepting, allowing anybody to take something that they did not earn. That's just the way I feel about it. You can't take somebody else as your pet or slave and live off their earnings because you lazy, trifling, and you shiftless. You will not use children as a means of life support. You're not going to be using children as a means of oppressing a father, keeping him away from his kids, just for the sole fact you feel like you his mama and he ain't got no say. It don't work like that. It take two to tango, baby. You know? If you a rotten ass bitch, you will not be keeping no kids. Because you corrupt the children. Rotten bitches corrupts the heart of the righteous child. They got no vision. no sense of the hive, no understanding of motherhood, no regard or respect for the uterus, for the womb, the sacred portal of life. Anytime a man's respect for the portal of life exceeds the woman who carry it, he don't have no respect for her because she has no self-respect. Therefore, the only thing left for him is to leave her to her own fucking devices. His Yoni priestesses all over this bitch. But you run from them. It's sisters that's glowing up, healing other sisters all over this bitch, and you run from them. You can't get along with them. It's sisters that's trying to put together fucking vanguards, but you don't fuck with them. Where's the sisters you fuck with? I mean, the ones you always bully around? That don't count. You can't put together a matriarchy, and have a female in the middle of good-hearted women with jealousy and resentment in her heart, because that's going to make all of them have that same feeling back toward her, which is going to affect the children. If you're a parent, that shit don't fly. You don't nobody over your child is spilling hate into him, do you? So why would you do it? You want nobody over your child spilling hate. So why would you do it? You had the little kids now curse worse than the grown folks. I don't mind them cursing personally because we are living in a society where there is a problem and nobody should be using politically correct nothing under the face of oppression. Everything's supposed to be politically incorrect directly because you don't agree with the whole oppressive structure. The only reason why you don't be politically correct is because being politically correct means you in agreement and you are agreeing that the politics is correct. I don't agree to that shit. Fuck them bitches. They can kiss my ass from here to Albuquerque, teabag theyself when they get there, and drown in my feces. I don't give a fuck. Political correct that shit. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Now me, I ain't know what you call tyrannical ruler type motherfucker. I believe motherfucker needs the opportunity and they can govern their own goddamn self. But in the world where everybody can't govern themselves, they got external motherfuckers to do it for them. The problem is, why don't nobody have self-control? That's the question we need to be asking. In the world we live in, nobody has self-control. Where is it at? They surrender self-control for social control, social dominance of a society. It's the whole thing. That gives you the ability to escape your own responsibility for your own actions because you rely on a society to tell you what is right and what is wrong when you should already know what's written in your heart. What you feel like. When you about to shoot this motherfucker in his face, you don't feel like you about to do something that's not good? You don't think you say, I shouldn't shoot this? You don't never come to your mind that maybe it's another way. I don't got to blast his head off. You talk about Black Lives Matter because the police killed the nigga, but you killed 10? That don't match to me. That shit off balance. You can't say Black Lives Matter while you taking black lives because somebody else took a black life that didn't look like you. Black Lives Matter has to be unilaterally. And then as soon as you say Black Lives Matter, you nullify the validity of Black Lives Mattering because you had to tell a motherfucker. The fact that you got to tell somebody that you matter means you had to be an insignificant, no business born motherfucker to begin with. Or else you wouldn't have never had to say you matter. What is the remedy? matter to yourself first. You don't matter to yourself. You can just go and follow the system. You can go and be one of their drones. You get funneled like cow through a maze to work, to school, and back home in a cycle. Periodically, some people rise a little bit higher because they can't take that level of oppression at the bottom. They work a little bit harder. They call that lighting a fire under your ass. So they light a fire under you by making you emotionally opposed to your current condition until you are driven from an internal source to change your condition to a condition that you are acceptable and compatible with. Some people don't give a fuck. You gonna try to hold me down, motherfucker? I'm just gonna enjoy the bottom. Shit. I'm gonna be comfortable at the bottom just as well as you comfortable at the top. Bitch, it don't matter to me. Bring it. I can take it all. But there's others that's gonna squeal a little bit more and more, depending on what they made of. That means they gonna move higher up the socio-economic ladder in standings of the standard of the society, because to keep you from being a pressure cooker, you gotta have room to grow out of that suffering to a level you can satisfy. I mean, you become, oh yeah, this is a comfortable slave spot right here. God damn it, I got the dough man spot. And the other motherfucker say, fuck that, I'm the taxi driver. You're still a slave. You're still working for somebody else other than your children, because that's who you really supposed to be working for as a parent. You don't work for you. That shit ain't got nothing to do with you. You made these babies, you got to take care of them. Now you got a reason to work. It ain't personal. Got nothing to do with you. You have a responsibility, just deal with it. Go to work. It's not personal. Stop taking that shit personal. The boss at the job need to be the same way. Just because you got a motherfucking different position don't make you better than the next motherfucker. I might know more about your position than you do, but choose a different position because it makes it easier for me to have more structured time with my family. But people don't take that into consideration and assume because you're in a different position that you are lesser than them. You're not as smart as them, and you're not as valuable as them. But sometimes they take your ass out of that motherfucking position that you in temporarily and realize how valuable you was just where the fuck you was at. Some people, you don't know their value until they gone. You don't know their contributions until those same contributions is not being made. Championship team that traded the guy because he didn't have over 10 points a game forgot that he had 20 assists, goddamn 13 rebounds, 4 block shots. You know, untold number of dive and save out of bound passes that led to a goddamn score. But then when you traded him for a guy that can score 20 points a game, average 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and you wonder why you can't win the championship no more. Where your cleanup crew? Where your guy that's gonna do the dirty work? Where's your great defender? Why you got all these badass offensive motherfuckers? You see, it's a team effort. If you don't understand the value of it, sometimes you got a person on the team that's presence alone is enough to inspire the team to win a game, a championship, a dynasty. Because one motherfucker, they might not even be the person you even expect. Shit, you might be thinking it's Jordan and all of the players might be thinking it's B.J. Armstrong. You know? This is the way it is. So, when you look around, everything is not overtly what you see. because your field of vision is upside down backwards to what's really in place. It's the same, but it's different. It's an offset reality from the perception of the true self that's filtered through the lens of the ego self. And they call it a refracted light. This is a metaphor for a shattered mind. It's not really a shattered mind. It's just an understanding that you got ancestral lines that come from varying ways or angles. These are your angels. These angles is which ancestors you allow the most control in your life. You got ancestors that were some beautiful, beautiful people. And you got some ancestors that were some real live classical pieces of shit. If you don't allow those classical piece of shit ancestors to dominate your energy, it allow those good-hearted, kind, loving, prosperous ancestors to shine through you, and it'll give you a characteristic of a prior ancestor in more aspects than 90% that allows you to embody their full energy. If you understand why you can't die, then you understand why you change bodies. But the body itself can become immortal when you learn the epigenetics, microgenetics, and the geriatric understanding of the decay of the cell. It all comes down to the sheath that covers the chromosomes. If these sheaths wear thin, you develop the symptoms of aging. But through the proper supplementation of amino acids, vitamins, and minerals, sometimes you can just get a combination of superfoods and meet all of your requirements to slow the decay of that telomere that's decaying. And as you slow it, you slow the aging process. Sometimes it's the fresh food diet. Sometimes it's the high mineral rich water. But it depends on where you at in the world. And from there, you begin to understand that as you unravel your life, you unravel your ancestral lineage. By doing this, it allows you to do what the Egyptians said, man, know thyself. Because what you made of is more than what you can consciously perceive using three-dimensional scientific, psychological, sociological, or historical methods that's been tried to define what the human is from science. The human is beyond science because humans created science. You know, that's like the egg trying to give birth to the chicken from an empty shell. It's not possible. The human is a three-dimensional fixed position reality training seminar for a developing energy being that we call a God body. This developing energy being will eventually become a full-blown star. Once he goes supernova in the body, they call that a phoenix. You go supernova in the body is to become fully awakened and to become fully realized as the bringer of light, bearer of light, the light source, the teacher of those who don't remember how to remember who and what the fuck they are. Trust in your heart. You already know everything. Because you already know everything, nobody can really lie to you. So when you accuse a person of lying to you, you must don't know yourself, especially when they're only telling you the truth. And if you don't know yourself, you can't say you have a right to reign over other people trying to learn how to discover themselves. Then you tell people that there's no rank or position, but you tell them that they trying to take your spot. How they trying to take your spot? If there's no rank or position. It doesn't make sense. Make that shit make fucking sense. And so, in my personal challenge, I'm not supposed to know what I am doing. My child's mother is supposed to guide me to how to protect my child metaphysically. Now, to give me a comparative analysis, she has to lead me to a mother that is incorrect in her protecting of the child and is willing to sacrifice the child for a life upgrade without doing the necessary work or requirement to earn it by their own merit. Before, the sacrifice would have been acceptable without the work, but it's a new government, a new reign, a new sheriff in town. If you don't do the work, you don't get the reward. There's no entitlement here. Now, here go the trick. Get them to agree that an entitled motherfucker don't deserve nothing. When it come time to collect, because they agreed that an entitled motherfucker don't deserve nothing, they can't accept anything without their conscience giving them an electric jolt in their heart chakra to the black heart. That means they can't step into a righteousness spot as a righteous person after they agreed to a righteous act based off an unrighteous entitlement to a position, because they already agreed they wouldn't take that position if it wasn't a righteous thing. So you can coax them to the position all day long. They're never going to be able to accept it and show who the fuck they is, because they don't mean they self nor nobody else no earthly good. They only in it for to satisfy their emotions and their desires of the flesh. They have no sense of understanding how to be service to others because they haven't been of good service to themselves. Fuck that shit. I'm riding with my team. Ones that trusted and believed in me when everybody else said I was a piece of shit. I didn't give a fuck. I know what the fuck I can do. I just didn't know that nobody else knew I can do the shit that I can do, so I was just keeping that shit to myself. But when people know who you are in your heart, and they feel like you got something in you that can change some shit, people start vexing grievances. The more people vex grievances, the heavier those grievances rest on the heart of a righteous man until he has to do something within himself to satisfy his efforts in resolving the myriad of grievances that he collect listening to righteous people suffer. And if you don't have a empathetic heart for the suffering of others, you should not be in a position of governance and rulership over other people. If you don't want to give the people that earn their just what they have earned, then you don't deserve to be in a position of power over other people. There's no good in you, so no good can come from you when you feel like that about other people. You got a superiority complex rooted in a delirium somewhere that's reinforced by a jealous nature. A jealous nature is a ruin to a kingdom. So no wise man will allow a jealous heart to enter into a righteous kingdom lest he corrupt the whole kingdom. As my mama used to say, one bad apple will spoil the whole bunch. My mama trusted me to put together her sisterhood as it was before these invaders came over here. She didn't ask me to kiss nobody's ass. She told me, put the righteous where the righteous go, put the wicked where the wicked go, and let God handle it from there. So in my life, I live my life according to those who treated me well versus those who didn't. And sometimes I had to sock a motherfucker in the face to bump straight. It's just the law of the West. Right? And so, when you have a heart of a parent, it changes you into a servant to your children to a certain level. You have to honor the responsibilities of nature has placed upon you as a parent. And as a parent, observe nature and you'll find your job is, no matter what the fuck go on, everybody, all hands on deck to protect the offspring, the children, the seed. Every fucking animal on the planet know it of every nature. The human nature is supposed to be the presiding and most advanced and developed nature of a spiritual being in this realm. Yet, if we don't have the sensibility to unite around the children and let the children develop into righteous beings and keep teaching them this hate shit and this divide and conquer bullshit, then we shouldn't call ourselves human, because we are doing exactly what humans shouldn't do in order to satisfy somebody else's selfish needs. The greatest service is the service of your humanity. And the more that you're willing to take on, the more responsibility you are given. The more responsibility you are given, by default, you have to become stronger. The stronger you get, the better you begin to think. It's called conditioning. The same way you condition your hair. The same way you start your workout with a warm-up. The same way you prepare with a training camp before a fight. You got to be in condition. So the struggles of life gives you the conditioning. And the conditioning gives you the strength and the endurance to withstand the weight of what you must carry as a person in order to be the best you can be. The stronger you make yourself, the stronger internally, the higher your mental and your psychic energies can climb in the realms of the spirit. It's the connection that they all speak of. Enlightenment, awareness. And the awareness allows you to see things that you prior did not know that you could see, right in front of your face, just outside of your perception. Look at the light spectrum that the human can see, and then you understand that there's more to the light than you can actually see. So to experience the unknown aspects is to broaden the vision. And to broaden the vision to the light is to allow you to be able to take in more light. They call this bending the mind out of shape. Once the mind understands how something works, you have moved the mind in a way that it can't go back to a form of ignorance. And ignorance is bliss. Right? So, when you put all that together, you start to build on building blocks of character. Do you want to continue to be the person to say who don't deserve shit? Then, if they deserve it, let's see. Show me their receipts. Give them what they owe. It's just that simple. When the people come with their receipts and it's proven already that they did their work, and you say that they don't look the way that you want them to look in order to give them what they got coming, you don't deserve a place in the rulership position over people. So, it's deals being made in this matriarchy where a righteous man to be tested in order for him to secure and protect the matriarchal clan, meaning the queens of the earth. And this is going to tie all of the tribes together at the King of Kings, because that's the only way to get rid of the wars and make everybody one family and one nation. And before the invaders came, we had a system set up. So we go back to the system in front of their face while it's going on in real time, rebuilding our shit while they shit falling. They all know who I am and know where I'm at. Y'all think this is a joke, but the information is too accurate and on point, so you can't refute it. So, as they say in El's Holy Quran, we should hurl the truth and falsehood till it knocks out its motherfucking brains. Take it for what it's worth. Don't expect that I will be accepting bullshit anymore, anywhere, without immediate, vile, and vicious retort. But I ain't gonna move if it ain't necessary. It's a wrap. Shut this shit down. Send the imposters home. I don't care where the fuck they go. They gotta get the fuck out of here. I don't care if they go to Nibiru. I don't care if they go to Sheol, Tartarus. They gotta get the fuck out of North America, South America, and Central America. The chief's been spoken. I'm just a motherfucking spokesperson for the collective of the collective. They push me out here to tell them motherfuckers. All gates closed. The king of the North Gate say this shit is over. Y'all done woke me up for this bullshit and I to wrap it up. That's how you gotta tell them. Then you gotta go, ha ha, I was just joking, so that you can look like you was just cracking a joke. Because a lot of truth is said in jest. So the jesters speak. Who is the jesters? The entertainers. The only motherfuckers that wasn't scared to tell the king the truth. All eyes on me. See? Now they can get ready for this long kiss goodnight. You dig? Y'all know what it is. We gotta get ready to get these auto workers a good vacation. So, I don't know what y'all got planned from here forward, but this is a wrap. Get my shit to the house. Receipts cashed in. It's time to COD, motherfuckers. Cash on delivery. Y'all got the motherfucker pay the bill. The bill comes due. It always comes fucking due. Time to pay the fucking piper. Give my sisters they shit, motherfuckers. You're not gonna. They ain't no riding bitch gonna never be the good woman. It's just not possible. Ain't no riding bitch gonna ever be the good woman. That's not possible. I'm just saying. So, I'm the product of my mama right hand, my daddy right hand. I'm a double right hand man. That's a Cali flip off a polo grip. See? Polo a knockaround game like pool. You know? The pool is billiards, but the real pool is a swimming pool. Swimming pool is cool, I guess. That's if you got a place to rest. Saunas and motherfucking hot tubs. That's the kind of shit I love. That's a spa treatment. Look like a vacation in view. Some take me home shit. So yeah, that same shit that worked on my dad don't work on me. I don't fuck with rotten road bitches. It's just not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Matriarchy is secure. And I'm the baddest motherfucker ever born. Now flip this shit on home flip. This is where I go at. So mama said knock you out. It's a 244, 2-angel flip off a 2-bar cane. That's a 44. 44 is an 88 flips a city queen. My way. Hey ladies. Alright, y'all be focused. Hope y'all understand the Anunnaki story and how you use those stories as mirror images in order to understand what you're faced with for the position and rank in life you want to acquire. So, share the video if y'all liked it. If y'all don't,